The Louie Tee Network is powered by Music Head University. Music Heads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to my day 2 NFL draft after party. Was just on with the Commander Kings for over 5 hours. Great show. Lots to talk about there. We were chopping it up, having a good time. And now we're here. Yeah, you know what it is. Late night Louie. You know what it is. I'm already a little I'm a little saucy already. I was already having a couple of drinks during the Commander King stream. So y'all know what it is. But Commanders made one pick tonight. Trey Amos, second round, 61 overall, 61st overall. Cornerback out of Ole Miss. Love that guy coming out. It was one of my favorite corners in this draft. My 5th overall corner in this year's draft class. He was taken 6th as the 6th corner, so I wasn't that far off. I had Benjamin Morrison as my 6th corner. I had Trey Amos as my 5th corner, and Benjamin Morrison was taken 5th overall in terms of corners. Benjamin Morrison was taken by, oh man, was it the Arizona Cardinals? I'm not quite sure if I got that correct or not, but Trey Amos was taken 6th in this draft. Let's see. I can tell you right now. Benjamin Morrison was taken by, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, Benjamin Morrison taken by the Bucs as the 5th corner in this draft class, and Trey Amos taken as the 6th corner. So I wasn't that far off in terms of where I had these corners rated. Really, really good football player. 6'1", like 193 pounds. Ran a 4.43 40. Good length. 3 interceptions this year, throughout his career, good ball production. I think he ended up with like close to 10 interceptions in his collegiate career between Louisiana Lafayette. Didn't really play at Alabama. 3 years at Louisiana Lafayette, transferred to Alabama. Didn't really play there, transferred over to Ole Miss, played there 1 year as a starter, and was phenomenal in the SEC. I think his game translates well to the NFL, and I'm so glad we were able to get him. Lock up the outside boundary corner position. Now you got Marshawn Lattimore on one side, Trey Amos on the other side. Mikey Sanders still kicks inside, and you feel really good about the depth of the position now, right? Between Noah Igbenogany and Jonathan Jones, you feel good about the depth of the cornerback position. That was a question mark going into this process. No longer is that the case. Now, as you move on to day number 3, where you have 3 picks, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, I think the attention now shifts to edge and running back. Those are the 2 positions. Like after that, I don't give a damn what you're doing, but those feel like the 2 positions that you need to find some way to take care of and get better at. And so we'll see what they do in the 4th round, because to me, this is the last pick that really matters. I say that now, but if they get Jaden Blue in the 6th round, I'll be doing cartwheels and potentially a backflip, right? And I can't do a backflip, but I'll try. I might end up landing on my neck, but I can do cartwheels. I can do a roundhouse. I might do a backflip or break my neck trying. if we get Jaden Blue in the 6th round. But generally, the 6th and the 7th round, you're not going to come away with anything worth having necessarily. But those picks do exist for the Commanders. They're not throwaways. We'll see what they ultimately do with them. Adam Peters is a guy that I think believes in his ability to find talent even in the back end of the draft and find some sort of value. So we'll see what happens. But the 4th round, Rico said it best if you were over on the Commanders Kings channel where I just came from. 4 prospects at 128. Now, we don't know if any of them will be available. Obviously, we'll see what happens in the 25 picks or so, whatever that number is. I think 103 is where we'll pick up at the 4th round tomorrow. Commanders have the 128th pick overall. So those 26 picks between where we are now and where we end up selecting, all 4 of the guys that we like could be gone. But me and Rico are on the same page. 2 edge rushers, Braden Swinson out of LSU and Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina are the 2 edge rushers that we would feel really good about at this juncture of the draft if they were on the board. And then if you're talking running back, there are 2 running backs that really make us feel really good right now in the 4th round. And those are Bashard Smith out of Virginia Tech and DJ Giddens out of K-State. So those are the 4 prospects that make you feel warm and fuzzy inside if you're a Commanders fan, or at least if you're Rico or myself. I can't speak for any of you out there. You might have some other guys like Ed brought up some good names. You still have Dante Thornton Jr. of Tennessee still on the board. I would love to add him at the receiver position. And then you still have Jalen Royals of Utah State at the receiver position as well. So those are some other guys that are at the receiver position that also make a ton of sense for the Commanders if you wanted to go in that direction. So there's still some really good football players left as you enter the 4th round. I can't imagine these guys getting out of the 4th round. So you get what you get in the 4th round. You don't pick in the 5th round. So any spillage that happens into the 5th round, you don't have access to it. By the time you get to the 6th round, it's cleanup time. Like anything there's a mess at this position or a mess here or you have a chance to bring the mop and the bucket and clean it up. But the likelihood is there won't be anything left. Even some of the guys that I talked about is, the Commanders have Jalen Smith pegged as a 6th round corner. He went to the Texans in the 3rd round. So I don't even know if the Commanders' contingency plans are even still in place, right? I think they looked at Jalen Smith as a guy that potentially, we can get him in the 6th round. Texans took him in the 3rd round and said, wrong answer. So you don't really know what's going to be left, right? We have no idea what's going to happen, but there's still some quality football players available as we head into the 4th round. Hopefully some of them still exist as options when we get to 128. But feel really good about the addition of Trey Amos. And so the floor is yours. I'm not going to talk your head off. Shout out to everybody that's kicking it with the kid on this late night edition of the draft party. It's 1:00 on the East Coast. And so cheers to everyone that's out there. Rarely even, my guy Ree. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, you're a Golden Domer, so you're the perfect person to ask this. Tell me about Ben Morrison, Lou. What does he bring to the Bucks? Ben Morrison was my 6th best corner in this draft. He was taken as the 5th corner in this draft, so not too far off for where I had him. I love Ben Morrison. As a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, this guy is a ball hawk. He has a nose for the football. When you talk about taking it away, he can do it. he did it at a high clip in his collegiate career. I remember him as a freshman coming in, 6 interceptions his freshman year, 3 of them against BC in one game. I remember him really kind of taking us aback because, you know, at Notre Dame, you get talent. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like Notre Dame doesn't get talent, but you don't get elite stuff. And not at cornerback. Like, we get elite tight ends and offensive linemen and that kind of thing. We don't get elite corners and skill position players, right? When's the last time elite receiver came out of Notre Dame? Like, it doesn't happen very often. When's the last time an elite running back came out of Notre Dame? Again, it doesn't happen. So, you know, linebackers and corners, like, that doesn't happen out of Notre Dame. D ends, you get a 3rd round defensive end, you get a 3rd round linebacker, you don't get a 1st or a 2nd round. Benjamin Morrison, if not for the hip injury, he'd have been a 1st round pick. He was that good. Like, you got to steal. If the hip checks out and physically he's good, you got to steal in Benjamin Morrison in the 2nd round. This dude is fluid. He is very aware as a corner. He's got good movement skills. The only thing I would say is that sometimes he doesn't stay connected to routes, you know, at that 2nd level. Like, underneath that 1st level, he's all over that shit. Slants, outs, ends, like anything underneath shallow crosses, he gobbles that shit up. You know, if he's in man coverage, he's in zone with key and quarterback's eyes, he gobbles that shit up. Anything in that first level, forget about it. That 2nd level is where you worry about him a little bit. And those deep digs, those deep comebacks, you know, the deep out, the bench route, like, you can lose him. That transition sometimes isn't the cleanest for him. And you can get a step on him if you're a good receiver. You give him a little head and shoulders fake. You know, you send him off the path a little bit and you can create a little bit of separation. He's not the biggest corner in the world. So you can, you know, find ways to create the necessary separation to make plays. As you get further and further down the field, though, I think at that 3rd level where vertical routes are being run, I think he does a really good job of staying connected in phase and locating the football. And so I think, you know, the one thing I did question at one point, and we never got to figure out what it was the long speed. But even so, I felt comfortable with what he was able to do down the field a lot of times against the opponents that we were playing against. But I always wanted to know what that 40 looked like, what that time was, to kind of be able to say, okay, this is what you're capable of. We never got to see that, obviously, with the hip injury. But if you're asking me about Benjamin Morrison and what I think he can be at the NFL level, I'll tell you what my comp is for him, what I got down in my notes. I put down, let me turn my page to corners. I likened him to Deron Bland, the Dallas Cowboys corner who set the NFL record for the most interceptions, the most pick sixes in a season. I think he had the most interceptions in a season, as a matter of fact. And then I think he had the most pick sixes in a season at that. And he's got that kind of ability. Deron Bland sees it. He jumps it. His eyes are amazing. And his ability to click and close and make plays on the football is tremendous. And I see the same thing in Benjamin Morrison. I think they're the same kind of athletes. I think you can get on top of Deron Bland and make plays. I think you can get on top of Benjamin Morrison and potentially make plays. But if you make a mistake around Deron Bland, you don't get another chance. You don't get a do-over, right? He's going to take it away. And that's what makes guys like him scary. If you make a mistake around Benjamin Morrison, you don't get another shot. You're screwed, right? It's a turnover. And that's what you're getting. A guy that, if Todd Bowles wants to blitz, if he wants to play zero coverage, and Benjamin Morrison is playing, 7-8 yards off, you're in good hands. You're in real good hands. He'll get the job done. Rarely even. My guy, Ree. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Ree writes, what do you know about Jacob Parrish from K-State? Another guy that I was really high on coming out. Undersized. He's an undersized corner, right? But I'll tell you what I have in my notes here. Jacob Parrish was my 10th best corner in this draft class. And it's funny because I liken him to a corner that the Commanders have right now in Jonathan Jones. So I watched a lot of Jonathan Jones this offseason because the Commanders signed him to a free agent deal coming over from New England, undrafted out of Auburn, self-made, right? Teams, the entire league told him he wasn't good enough. He gets an opportunity as an undrafted free agent with the Patriots, makes the roster, doesn't look back, is now a 10-year veteran in the league. And you watch him play inside, you watch him play outside. He's fearless. Whether the receiver that he's guarding is 6'5" or he's 5'11", Jonathan Jones is in his hip pocket and he's fighting tooth and nail. And I see the same thing from Jacob Parrish. Like at 5'10", he's undersized, but Jacob Parrish doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care about him being 5'10". He's right there. He's going to fight with you. He's going to compete. Whether you're a 6'3" receiver or you're a 5'11" receiver, he's going to fight. He's going to be right there. He has shorter arms, so you see him fighting and getting in the mix, and he's right there, and he's constantly. And again, he's another one of these dudes. For this in particular draft, I don't love the corners in this draft, but I do love the corners in this draft. Their ability underneath to keep quarterbacks' eyes, see what's happening, understand what the offense is trying to do, and to jump it, to be in the mix. And Jacob Parrish is one of those guys that he's in the mix. Like you running a slant, he sees the slant, he's jumping it. Right? He's right there. He's competing. And my biggest issue with him is just his size. Right? Like it feels like he's tiny. He's 5'10", like 191. Like he's not the small, he's not like 175 pounds. Like he's not tiny, but when you look at his height and his arm length, you're like, uh-oh. And when you watch him play, he'll jump up in the air and he's got good athleticism. He'll get up there, but he still can't do anything. So if you got a 6'3" receiver and you put it on the top shelf, there's nothing Jacob Parrish can do about it. He's going to fight and he's going to grab and he's going to tug and he's going to do all that stuff. But if you got a 6'3" receiver with long arms that can go up and high point the football, there's nothing Jacob Parrish can do about it. But outside of that, outside of a big rangy receiver using his athletic exploits and his God-given abilities to hurt Jacob Parrish, if you just say, hey, line up, you and me, let's see who wins, Jacob Parrish is going to be in that mix, and I'll take Jacob Parrish 8 times out of 10. Like he comes up, he'll tackle, he'll hit you in the mouth. He's not afraid to tackle. He's physical. He's a dog, and I think he's one of those guys that has heard that you're not big enough, you're not tall enough, you're not long enough. Pause. And he plays with a chip on his shoulder. I like him a lot. And I like him. He's played inside and outside at K-State. I think he's more of a nickel at the NFL level, but you can't tell Jacob Parrish that. He'll jump out there on the perimeter and play that 6'2", 6'3" receiver and not give a damn. But I think he's more of a nickel at the NFL level. And I like him down around the line of scrimmage because he's physical enough to come up and tackle. He'll blitz. He can do a number of things, but I think he's better. I think his home at the NFL level is going to be in the nickel. So I think you just found yourself a very quality nickel is what I feel like. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Cheers. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Video channel writes, Florida defensive tackle Desmond Watson for the 6th round. Okay, so I finally took a look at who you were talking about. After all this time, you've been like, have you watched Desmond Watson yet? Yeah, I watched him. He's like 460 pounds. This dude is a behemoth. He's a massive. And while it sounds great and you're like, whoa, that's not ideal. Being that big is not what you want. First of all, we don't play that kind of scheme. We don't have that kind of defense. And that's not DQ, his type of player. Like our biggest defensive tackle is probably 320 pounds. And that's pushing it. Like, I don't even think DQ loves that kind of size at defensive tackle. But Eddie Goldman, I think, is somewhere in that 320-pound neighborhood. And I'm not sure that they even love that, but they need to stop the run so they'll tolerate it. But DQ and company, they've always been more of the 305, 2, 280, they like the 289-pound defensive tackle. We saw what they did with the undrafted defensive tackle out of Virginia Tech last year, and how they, liked his quickness and his ability to try to win. He was 270 some odd pounds, right? Like, they don't do the big, space eating, plotting, road grading defensive tackle, right? They do the quick, in the backfield, disruptive 306-pound defensive tackle. So Desmond Watson he's not even on the radar of the Commanders. He's not even on their board at this point. Yeah, he's big, but how many snaps can you play at 400? Like, could you imagine him being on the field on a first down run and then a team going no huddle and keeping him on the field for 6 straight plays? He'd probably die on the field. Like, and while he's cool, you watch some of the plays he makes. I saw him, I think he was playing like against Tulane or something. He picked a running back up and dumped him on his neck. He's fun to watch just because of how big he is and how physically imposing he is. But he's also, like, he's not a guy that's going to move all that well. Like, for 460 pounds, yeah, he moves really well. Like, okay. But he's 460 pounds, man. He's a wall in there. All you have to do is run away from him. What is he going to do? Like, that is great, but it's not like you can't run the football because Desmond Watson is on the field. It's not like Florida had a great run defense. And how many snaps is he playing a game? So, yeah, I watched him, but there's no way he's getting drafted by the Commanders. And furthermore, I don't think he's getting drafted at all. It's a new day and age in the NFL. He might be an undrafted, free agent for some team, but him getting drafted, highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. ST412. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Bashard Smith. I like him. You know what he feels like? A 5th round pick. You know what we don't have? A 5th round pick. I can see him going in the 4th, but he feels more like a 5th round pick. I said the same thing about Oluwafemi Oladejo, where I said, I wonder how the league is going to perceive him because of his transition to edge, and whether they say, well, he doesn't have any experience and there's no real production because of his lack of experience and he's raw, and if they were going to push him down the board or if someone was going to take him. Well, you couple his movement skills with the juice that he brings as a leader and a guy that's vocal, and you feel his presence, from a leadership standpoint with the ability to move. And it was enough for teams to say, you know what? Yeah, he's raw, but boy, does he have some upside. Bashard Smith is very similar in that started out as a wide receiver at University of Miami, made the switch to running back at SMU. Only 1 season of running back experience and production. You see what he could potentially be, but you also say, I need a guy that can help me now, and I don't know if Bashard is ready to help me right now. Okay. I can see that. And that's why I think he'll be available in the 5th round, but I think somebody will be smitten enough with him to take him in the 5th round, which Commanders don't have a 5th round pick. So if you don't take him in the 4th round, which I don't know if he's worthy of a 4th-round pick for the Commanders. You're screwed. Don't think he'll be there in the 6th. I'm hoping. I think Jaden Blue and Travis Etienne will be there. Or excuse me, Trevor Etienne will be there in the 6th round. So there'll be some options. But I'm a Jaden Blue guy. That you guys know that. I love Jaden Blue. So we'll see what happens. Bashard Smith is really interesting, and I like him a lot. You know who else who hasn't gone? Is again, the running back position is so deep. Devin Neal hasn't gone yet. He feels like a 5th-round pick too, out of Kansas. So there's a lot of stuff left. Like, if you're a Commanders fan, there are a lot of good football players still available and at your disposal, but you don't. This is the problem. You don't have a 5th-round pick. You got a 4th-round pick. You got to make the most of that, and then you got a 6th and a 7th-round pick. So that's the real question: is like, can we maximize this 4th-round pick? Because you could get a good edge rusher, and there's still good football. Like, if you had a 5th-round pick, you might be able to get you a running back. We'll see how there could be another run on running backs because there's still good quality running backs left. Devin Neal's still available. DJ Giddens is still available. Bashard Smith is still available. Like, there's still a number of really quality back. I mean, Damian Martinez is still available. Like, there's some good. Ollie Gordon is still available. Like, there's still some quality running backs left. It's a deep position. We talked about it. It's one of the best running back draft classes we've seen since I think 2017 was the last time we've seen a running back draft class like this. Go figure. We're into day 3 and there's still a number of quality backs left. Makes sense, right? Miggy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Miggy writes, "Sup, Lou? How you see Amos versus AJ, or that's Lattimore still?" I think now you don't have to take Lattimore and run him around with AJ anymore. You just say, y'all stay on y'all side of the field. We feel good about both of y'all taking on AJ or Devontae, right? The biggest thing that was an issue for us last year with, in particular with Mikey, was Mikey couldn't run, right? You could run past Mikey. And because of that, you always had to protect Mikey, or you had to have Mikey playing 7 to 10 yards off. Now you don't have to do that. Amos can run, and he's got size and length, and Marshon Lattimore can run, and he's got size and length. So you could just say, if A.J. Brown starts on one side of the formation and then runs to the other side, hey, we good. Or if A.J. Brown lines up on the left side or he lines up on the right side, we good. Wherever he lines up, you feel good. If he lines up in the slot, I'm going to trust that Mikey going to find a way to get it done, because Mikey has gotten it done against A.J. Brown before. But I'm not asking Mikey to do something that he didn't do in college. Mikey didn't play boundary corner in college. Mikey played nickel. He was a safety that played some nickel in college. And we asked him to do something that was foreign to him, and he excelled at it for what we asked him to do. But make no mistake about it, we drafted him to be a nickel. Now he gets to do that. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. So I think AJ is against both of these dudes. And it's not one of them. It's both of them. But you would like Lattimore to be able to take on that challenge more so than Amos. We talking about a rookie here. But at the same time, I ain't looking to put bubble wrap on the rookie. Like, if he can play, let him go. Turn him loose. We're going to see some dogs this year at the receiver position. We playing the AFC West. We playing the Chiefs. We playing the Broncos. We playing the Raiders. We playing the Chargers. You're going to see some dogs this year. Turn him loose. Let's see what he's got. Sam Martin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Sam writes, how bad were Sanders' interviews for this to happen? Man, I don't know if it was his interviews or not. Like, I'm glad you brought it up, Sam, because I was going to talk about it. Well, let's talk about it. Now that you brought it up. I don't know if it was his interviews or not. I can just tell you this. Shedeur Sanders, I don't think he handled the pre-draft process the best that he could have. I really think that he could have been a little bit more available. Like, you go out, you practice during the week. Maybe you don't play in the Senior Bowl, but you go to the Senior Bowl. Like going to the East-West Shrine game and then not doing nothing there and then not going to the Senior Bowl at all. I don't think that was a good look, right? To go to the combine, not do anything at the combine. So you didn't do anything at any of the all-star games. You didn't do really anything except your pro day. And again, your skill set isn't like that. You don't have a big arm. You're not a tremendous athlete. You don't have some of the things that teams covet at the quarterback position, right? You have a cerebral mind. You know who else had a cerebral mind? Chad Pennington. Now, he was a first-round pick, but he also had a pop gun arm, right? You know who else had a cerebral mind? Phillip Rivers. He had a pop gun arm, but Phillip Rivers, you know, he knew how to find guys, get them open, whatever. It was a different NFL then. Like Phillip Rivers in today's NFL probably is a 3rd or 4th round pick, right? But back then, so Phillip Rivers was a 1st round pick, right? This is a different day and age in the NFL, and Shedeur needed to treat the process like a guy who was hungry for an opportunity and starving for someone to take him in the 1st or 2nd round. And he treated it like, oh, I know I'm a 1st round pick. I know I'm a top 5 pick. So I don't need to do none of this shit that y'all having all these other quarterbacks do. I don't need to do what Tyler Show doing and be at the combine. You know, I don't need to do what, you know, Dylan Gabriel and some of these other quarterbacks are doing and be at the Senior Bowl. That's beneath me. I'm Shedeur Sanders. And teams looked at it like, you Shedeur Sanders? Bro, you don't, your arm ain't that strong. You ain't no tremendous athlete. Probably your best muscle is probably your brain and how fast you process. There's a lot of quarterbacks that have come in the league that process really well, but don't have great athleticism and a top tier arm. Like, what separates you? What makes you different? And he carried it like he was Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams or Drake May, when you really, you know, you really like Spencer Rattler. And so they was like, no, you gotta pay for this, bro. I don't think his interviews might have rubbed some people the wrong way. I won't say that they didn't, but my guess is when it's all said and done, Shedeur carried himself like he was a top 5 pick, decided not to do anything in the lead up to the draft other than his pro day. And, you know, some teams might have felt like he was entitled. Some teams might have felt like, yo, he's not as talented. He's not worth a selection, whatever the case may be. But when it's all said and done, there's no way you can convince me, and this is my point. There's no way you can convince me that Dylan Gabriel is better than Shedeur Sanders. Okay, you want to take Tyler Shuck? Okay, you know what? Tyler Shuck, bigger arm, better athlete. Yeah, he's 100 years old, but when we talk about traits, bigger arm, better athlete, great size at 6'5", he checks box. He checks all the boxes. Okay, I get that. I can rock with the Saints saying, nah, we're going to roll with Tyler Shuck. Okay, yeah, I got that. Okay, all right, I hear you. Ain't no way you going to convince me that Dylan Gabriel is better than Shedeur Sanders. That shit, I ain't buying, and I ain't trying to hear. But to each its own. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but you can't tell me that Dylan Gabriel is better than Shedeur Sanders. And that's where I draw the line, and that's when I say, uh-oh. He pissed enough people off that they made a pact, a pact. And I think Ed might have hit it on the head. This might be collusion, and they might have come together as a group and said, we're going to make an example out of his ass. And if you want to be more specific, we're going to make an example out of his black ass and show them that this ain't how we do business here. But, if you want to play the race card, go right ahead. I don't even know if it's that. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if Shedeur Sanders, he could have did all the shit that he did, and his dad could be Deion, and that shit didn't help him. Deion sitting in the meetings and his brother posting on X and all that. Like I said, if you draft Shedeur Sanders, you draft the Sanders family. So that's another, layer of this discussion. But look, take all that into consideration. Do with it what you will. Here's the thing. If Shedeur Sanders had Justin Herbert talent, his ass would have been drafted already. He would have gone in the first round. And that's where and I asked y'all this on my podcast when I said the curious case of Shedeur Sanders. I said, if his last name wasn't Sanders and his dad wasn't Deion, would we be having these conversations about him? Or would he just be another guy trying to find his way in the NFL? And maybe if his last name wasn't Sanders and his dad wasn't Deion, he wouldn't have had the mentality of, oh, I don't need to do any of your all-star games. I don't need to be at the Senior Bowl during the week and practicing and doing all that. I don't need to participate in the East-West Shrine game. I don't need to do none of that shit. I don't need to be at the combine in terms of, participating. I can go do all the meetings, but I don't need to do any. I don't need to throw. I don't need to do all of that shit because I'm Shedeur Sanders. Maybe if his name was Shedeur Jones and his dad wasn't Deion Sanders, he would have done the Senior Bowl, and they would have had a better understanding of who he is, saw what he could do, and they might have said, you know what, we'll take him in the second round or the third round. But he didn't do any of those things, and he doesn't have a big arm, and he doesn't have tremendous athleticism. And I said, if his name wasn't Sanders, how would we perceive him? And that was the big question. Like, if his dad wasn't Deion and his last name wasn't Sanders, where would we rank him? Where would we put him? You can't convince me that he's not better than Dillon Gabriel, though. Like, that shit, that's you trying to tell me that Dillon Gabriel, Tyler Shuck, and what's the Alabama quarterback's name? God help me. Jalen Milroe are all better than Shedeur Sanders. And look, Milroe is a hell of an athlete. And I talked about it. I was like, I'm glad he didn't end up in the NFC East. Because that kind of speed, I don't want to have to deal with it. Right? He went to the Rams, good. Or not the Rams. He went to the Seahawks. Good. Stay in the NFC West. Stay away from me. I'll see you once every, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, but keep his ass away from having to see him twice a year. He could be a problem, right? Even if it's just a package or two. But you're trying to tell me, and he has something elite. He has a big arm and he has athleticism, right? Not too much different from the quarterback the Cowboys traded for from New England, right? Where you got a big arm and you got some athleticism. But Shedeur Sanders has talent. And we're not going to sit here and act like Shedeur Sanders is some stiff. He has talent, but he don't have the biggest arm. He ain't the best athlete, and he ain't the biggest dude in the world. He ain't 6'4". He ain't 6'5". He like 6'2". So if you don't want to like him, there are plenty of excuses and there are plenty of ways you can not like him. And there's things you can use against him to not like him. But I always go back to the point of, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I can't tell the Browns that Dillon Gabriel isn't a good quarterback and you shouldn't like him more than Shedeur Sanders. But you really trying to convince me that Dillon Gabriel is better than Shedeur Sanders? I'm just not hearing that shit, bro. I watched Dillon Gabriel at Central Florida. Like, I watched Dillon Gabriel at Central Florida. I watched him at Oklahoma and Oregon. You can't convince me that Dillon Gabriel is a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So it is what it is. Whether you thought he had a terrible interview or not, Dillon Gabriel ain't better than Shedeur Sanders. That's why I draw the line. Like, okay, now y'all trolling. Now y'all making an example out of this young man. Okay, I see what y'all doing right now. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, Ben Morrison sounds like a top Bulls corner. Is he an upgrade over Jamel Dean? So it's funny you bring up Jamel Dean. So I'll tell you this. Jamel Dean was athletically gifted. Jamel Dean could run like the wind. And he had, he was quick twitched and all that good stuff. But Jamel Dean, he wasn't a natural corner, right? It feels like he was forced to play corner. He wasn't a natural corner. He didn't have instincts for the position. He didn't find the football in the air. He wasn't always where he was supposed to be. The footwork wasn't always the cleanest. Jamel Dean felt like an athlete that was playing corner, right? Because he was fast. Hey, you should play cornerback. Yeah, maybe I should, right? That's what he felt like. He didn't feel like a guy that had been playing corner for a while. He understood the position, had the nuances down, understood route concepts, and he could, Jamel Dean just felt like an athlete that they threw out there because he was so fast. You should play corner. Benjamin Morrison is a corner, right? No, he's not the athlete that Jamel Dean, it is, right? He don't run as fast as Jamel Dean. He's not as quick twitched as Jamel Dean, but boy, does he understand the cornerback position way better than Jamel Dean ever did. And so Benjamin Morrison is definitely a top Bowles corner because he's going to be able, like Todd Bowles wants to go zero coverage, right? He wants to go zero blitz and cover zero, come after your quarterback, leave his corners on the island and have them hold up. And Morrison can do that. He can do that. And he can make plays underneath. If you try to throw something underneath and he's squatting on it, he can make plays. Like, you got yourself a real one. Like, Benjamin Morrison is a really good NFL quality corner. I really believe that. He's definitely an upgrade over Jamel Dean, if you ask me. Ronnie Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ronnie Bell, thank you for the super chat. Reed, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a damn. I was trying so hard to think about what the wrench is called. Y'all know what it is, man. But thank you for being one of those. Right. No, I can't think of the phrase. But my guy rewrites, after the initial shot wore off, I think Egbuka is great. Look, I wasn't expecting Egbuka. And I said that was one of the surprises of the first round. I think there were like 4 or 5 mods. Thank you, Miss Perry. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word mod. It just would not come to my head. But thank you. I hope I got some of y'all because I froze and y'all probably thought the video was glitching and I just sat there. I think I got some of y'all. I know I got some of y'all. It's almost 300 of y'all out there. I bet you I got at least 50 of y'all. We all thought, yo, is my shit working? Is it paused? What's going on? I think I got y'all. I got y'all. Says Egbuka is great. He is. He is Chris Godwin 2.0. You got you a professional wide receiver. Remember how excited you were when you guys drafted Chris Godwin? First of all, you wanted him. You called it. You said Chris Godwin is a buck. Like, he's everything I want in a receiver. And then you guys went out and drafted him and you were so excited. And he's been everything that you thought he was going to be. And he's lived up to the hype. Emeka Egbuka is all of that and then some. He's a step above Chris Godwin. He's a professional wide receiver. It would not shock me if Emeka Egbuka this year with Baker Mayfield had 72 catches for 1,117 yards and 8 touchdowns. Like, he's that good of a receiver. Now, clearly, you got a lot of receivers. It's a lot of I don't know if there's enough footballs to go around for him to have that much success. You literally need somebody to be injured for him to get that many targets. But he's that good. And you're going to see that very quickly. Did I expect you, after giving Chris Godwin an a contract this offseason, having Mike Evans still, and he's going to probably finish his career as a buck, and then also drafting Jalen McMillan last year and having him be very successful. Did I expect you to take yet another receiver after that? Hell no. That was a surprise to me. It was one of the 4 surprises in the first round. I think I was shocked by like 4 moves in the first round. The Jags trading up to get Travis Hunter was a shock to my senses. Didn't see it coming. The Bears taking instead of taking Tyler Warren, taking Colson Loveland being the first tight end off the board. Total shock to my senses. That was number 2. I think the third shock to my senses, was it the Bucks taking Emeka Egbuka? It might have been the third shock to my senses. Was that? And then I think the fourth shock to my senses was Will Johnson falling out of the first round. But more specifically, this is when I knew he was going to fall out of the first round. When the Chargers at 22 passed on him, I was like, uh-oh, something's up with Will Johnson. And that's when Ian Rappaport came in and was like, yeah, you're right. Knee injury, teams are concerned. Don't think he's going to get, to a second contract with his knee situation. I said, okay, now it makes sense. But I was shocked initially because I said, there's no way Michigan players are getting past Jim Harbaugh. So if one of those defensive tackles, which neither one of them were available, Kenneth Grant went to the Cardinals at like 16 or whatever that number was. And I said, okay, well, Will Johnson, I'm surprised, I'm shocked he's available still, but he's definitely going at 22 to the Chargers. And he didn't. I was like, uh-oh, something's really off with him. So Emeka was one of those surprises. And then Green Bay. I think Green Bay, you guys, Will Johnson, and then Green Bay. So that's the fifth and the final surprise of the first round was Green Bay taking the first round wide receiver because they just don't do it. And I didn't see Emeka getting taken, but he's a good receiver, man. You got yourself a really good football player and an absolute dog, and he's going to come in there. He's a professional, and he's ready to go right out of the packaging. You don't have to do anything. Just open up the package and take him out and just turn him on, and batteries are already included. No assembly necessary. Just watch him work. Like, you got yourself a professional wide receiver. He said he's going to come in. He's going to come to work every day and give you all he's got. NFL comp. I'll give you my NFL comp for him because I'll tell you what I had him ranked as at the receiver position this year. And I'll tell you what my comp is. So Emeka Egbuka was my 5th rated receiver in this year's draft class. And my comp for him is Brandon Ayuk. I don't think he's a true number 1 receiver, but I think he's a high-level number 2, like one of the best number 2s in the league. And you could argue that he's a low-level 1 if you wanted to even make that case. Like Brandon Ayuk, you could make the case that he's a low-level number 1 wide receiver, but he's just going to be really good for you, right? And like Brandon Ayuk, I don't think necessarily has the workman-like mentality of, I'm going to do whatever it takes to help my team. I'm going to be locked in. I'm going to, be the consummate professional, yada, yada, yada. But their skill sets are similar. Their games are very similar as to what they can do, how they, like Ayuk does a lot of damage from the slot. Emeka Egbuka is a slot machine, right? He's going to find a hole in zone coverage. He's going to sit down. He's going to exploit man-to-man coverage a certain way. Like, he's not going to blow past you. Like, he doesn't have this crazy top-end speed. He's a 4.47 guy, so he can run. There's plenty enough speed. But when I tell you he's another Chris Godwin, but better, that's essentially what you got. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, tell me what's going on with Shedeur, Lou. Teams seem scared shitless to draft him. I think they're making a point. Like, this NIL has changed the game, but Shedeur is a unique case. Like, you're not going to get a Shedeur Sanders every year. You don't have guys coming into the league every year who's got a Hall of Fame daddy who was flamboyant during his time and has passed that flamboyant nature down to his son. and is also wants to be involved and has brothers that want to be heavily involved, and have all this money at their have all of these resources, we'll call it, at their have all these resources I can't, the word, it feels like the word is right there, but I can't find that word that I'm looking for. At their disposal. There it is. That's the word I was looking for. At their disposal. Like, Shedeur is a unique case because Shedeur, he reminds me a lot of Josh Rosen in the sense of, like, he don't need the NFL money. He ain't hurting for bread. He ain't hurting for money. Like, a lot of these dudes come in and, they need this NFL check. Like, this is their opportunity to take their family and better their situations and create generational wealth. Shedeur don't need this shit for that reason, right? His dad created generational wealth for their family. Like, Shedeur has had, and Deion not only created generational wealth for his family, he created a lane for Shedeur to create some wealth for himself. Like, Shedeur Sanders has been making money since he was at Jackson State. Deion went to Colorado, took Shedeur with him, and he's in every commercial you could think of, KFC commercials and this commercial and that commercial, and Shedeur is everywhere. And it was to the point where Shedeur was getting NIL money, and it was outside of the Colorado boosters. And so he took the money that the boosters were giving, and he gave that to his teammates, right? He said, no. I'm going to help y'all. I'm going to spread the wealth. Y'all getting this money. I'm going to just go ahead and get this money outside of, the boosters. And y'all, I'm going to let y'all eat too. I'm going to make sure all of y'all eat. So he was a great teammate, did that thing. But Shedeur has money. He's got the whips, right? We've seen him in these extravagant cars. We've seen him with the rollie on the rollie celebration, right? The TikTok celebration, with the Audemars Pavlik, right, on his wrist, where teams see that shit and they're turned off by it. And then you come in, you're somewhat arrogant. You're telling teams that, I know I can do this, that, and the third, and they want to make an example out of him. I really truly believe that. Like, you see him, and you don't want that to be what this NIL thing is about. And NIL is actually, it can be a gift and a curse. On one hand, it can be a gift because it shows teams what a guy will do when he gets money. Like, a lot of times you don't know what a guy's going to do when he finally gets money. He's never had money in his life. He struggled to get to that point. He finally gets to college. Now, all of a sudden, you get this NIL money, and you see a guy for his true colors. You see his true stripes before you get to him. And now oh, he can't handle the success. He can't handle this money, right? We don't need to draft him. You don't know what that looks like, but now you do. You didn't know, and you don't know 5 years ago what that looked like. You had to draft a kid, give him all that money, and then see what he did with it, and how he lived up to all of that money and the hype and all of that good stuff. Now, guys are getting money in college, NIL money, and now you get to see if it changes who they are, if it makes them more of who they already were, or et cetera, et cetera. And so now like, okay, now we could trust this dude with giving him a bunch of millions of dollars. Like, he's gonna be the same guy regardless. Shedeur had money already, and so your money at the NFL level ain't gonna change who he is. The bottom line is, Shedeur Sanders thought he was better than what he really was, and I think teams said, "No, we're gonna humble his ass. We're gonna humble him." And he got all this money, and he's entitled, and he thinks he's this, and he thinks he's that. Well, he ain't. And we're going to show him that he's not. That's what it feels like. Feel like they went to that owners meeting like 3 weeks before the draft, and it was like, hey, we got to show Shedeur Sanders a lesson. We got to teach him a lesson. And they did a hell of a job because I got to say, they did a hell of a job because drafting, like, look, I get it. I understand that Tyler Show has, more athleticism and all of that good stuff, but Dylan Gabriel before, like, shit, and to a lesser degree, I can understand Jalen Milroe because, again, tremendous athlete, big arm, whatever. But I still ain't buying that. But okay, I can rock with that. I understand. Same with Tyler Show, right? But Dylan Gabriel, that's nasty work, bro. Now you making fun of me. You playing in my face right now. To me, that, and again, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but now you playing in my face. So Shedeur Sanders don't have a big enough arm, but Dylan Gabriel does in Cleveland. Okay, all right, cool, whatever. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Swaggy P, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Right. Everybody getting drafted before Shedeur, I just might declare for the draft myself. You a quarterback, Swaggy P? You can throw it. You can toss it a little bit. if you can toss the peel a little bit, you can throw it around the yard a little bit. Then you got a shot, bro. Then throw your name in the hat. You might get drafted before Shedeur too, right? You got how much athleticism you got? You can run a little bit. If you can run a little bit, you got a live arm. You can go before Shedeur Sanders too. The Black Al B. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Black Al B. Right. What it do, Lou? What's going on, Black Al B? We draft a receiver with only 3 picks left in the draft. We letting Addison walk in the future or Naylor. I'm not gonna lie, Ty Felton felt like a little bit of a reach in the 3rd round. Like I thought Ty Felton was I thought he was no better than a 4th round pick. So I guess if I thought he could go in the 4th round and you take him up with the final pick of the 3rd round, then I guess it's not that bad of a reach. I mean, the difference between 102 and 104, 105, it's not that big of a difference. It's just one night's sleep, essentially. So I don't think you necessarily reached. I'm not a big Ty Felton. Let me just talk about the receiver first. I'm not the biggest Ty Felton fan. I thought he was okay, but Ty Felton was like my 20-something ranked wide receiver, but like it's certain guys that like I'll tell you my rank. I did this already, and I've had videos out, and some of you probably didn't watch it, but my receiver ranking went like this. Travis Hunter was 1. He was the first guy taken, obviously. 2 was Luther Bird in the 3rd. He went in the 2nd round. We saw that to the Chicago Bears, but he did not go 2nd in this draft. Matthew Golden was 3rd. He was the 3rd receiver taken after Tet. Tet was 4th, so he was the 4th receiver on my board, but he was the 2nd receiver taken in the draft. Emeka Egbuka was 5th, and if I'm not mistaken, he was the 4th receiver taken. Golden was the 5th in the 1st round. I think that was the end of the receivers taken in the 1st round. So I wasn't too far off with the way I had them ranked. It didn't match up, completely with where they were taken. But Hunter went 1. McMillan was 2nd. Egbuka was 3rd. I think Golden was 4th. And we didn't have any more receivers. I think it was 4 receivers that went in the 1st round. And then Burden went relatively early in the the second round. After Egbuka at 5, let's see who 6 was. Royals. Jalen Royals is my 6th receiver. He still hasn't been taken, which if you're a Commanders fan, you should be excited about that. I think he's really talented. Trey Harris was taken in the second round. He's my 7th receiver. Jalen Higgins was at the top, so he went before Burden. He was the Texans took him at like 34. I think they traded up and took him at like 34. So Higgins was my 8th receiver. I think he was the 5th receiver taken in the draft. Was Jalen Higgins. 9th receiver was Isaiah Bond. Obviously, we know what's going on with him right now, so he's not in the mix. Then I had Jalen Noel, and the Texans took him to pair up with Jalen Higgins. Both of them are Texans. That's a pretty cool situation. I think they took him in the 3rd round, Jalen Noel. I'm not mistaken, he might have gone in the 2nd round, but I think he went in the 3rd. Matter of fact, I can check right now. Yeah, Jalen Noel went in the 3rd round to the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns, the Texans, they went to the Houston Texans in the 3rd round. My 11th receiver was Kyle Williams. He went to the Patriots. Savion Williams is my 12th receiver, or was my 12th receiver. He went to the Packers. Jack Besh was my 13th receiver. He went very early in this draft. I think he went in the 2nd round. A lot of people really like Jack Besh. Jack Besh went to the Raiders in the 2nd round. And Nick Nash is still available. I had him as my 14th best receiver. Pat Bryant, he already went. Where did Pat Bryant go? I remember seeing Pat Bryant. I think he went to the Browns, I think. Where did Pat Bryant go? Denver Broncos. I knew he went to an orange team. Pat Bryant was my 15th rated receiver. He's gone. Went to the Denver Broncos. I love that for the Denver Broncos. He's a really good receiver. The Broncos are loaded. Isaac Tesla is my 16th receiver. He's gone. He went to the Detroit Lions. Dante Thornton Jr. was my 17th receiver, or is my 17th receiver. He's still on the board. Alec Ayor Manor is still available. He's my 18th receiver. My 19th receiver is Jalen Lane, Vatech receiver. He hasn't been taken yet. And Elijah Badger is my 20th receiver. So Ty Felton wasn't in my top 20. And yet you took him in at the end of the 3rd round. I thought it was a bit early for him, but I thought anywhere from the 4th round to the rest of the draft, he was going to be in play. So you weren't that far off, but wasn't expecting that. I don't think you're letting Addison walk, but Naylor is definitely a candidate to be gone, right? Like Addison, you spent the 1st round pick on. He's got tremendous talent. I don't see him being the guy. It's Jalen Naylor that could be gone, but you can't have, and look, you can never have enough weapons for your young quarterback. You got JJ McCarthy stepping in the saddle, and you want to give him as many options to get the football to as possible. So I totally get it. I didn't see it coming, but I get it. So that was the final super chat. And one of the big conversations I was going to have with y'all was Shedeur. Well, we already had that conversation. It's just crazy that he's still available. I don't think Jalen Milroe came to the draft. Smart decision on his part, because he didn't get drafted until the 3rd round. I don't know what the hell would have possessed him to think he was getting drafted in the 1st or the 2nd round. So why would you want to be at the NFL draft? So I'm glad he made the smart decision to not go. Initially, he was coming to the draft. I'm like, why would you put yourself through that? But the Shedeur Sanders thing is a really interesting conversation. And now that you've seen even more quarterbacks go, it's becoming a real thing. Yesterday round one, day one, yeah, he's there. He's a guy that we thought had a chance to go top 10, and so he's fallen. Oh, okay, let's see where he ends up. But then to not get taken in the first round, you go, okay, well, cool. No worries. He'll definitely go early second round. The Browns got the first pick in the second round, and all these teams have picks that didn't get quarterbacks. The Giants have a pick. Well, the Giants traded back into the first round, so that there was that. But you had all these teams that didn't get quarterback. The Saints, et cetera, where you go, okay, somebody will pick him. But worst case scenario. And I don't see how he gets to the third round, but worst case scenario, the Steelers got a third round pick. They don't have a second round pick, but they got a third round pick. That's when he'll come off the board. That's his fail safe. And to not get drafted in the second, and then the Steelers to pass on him again, you're like, and then you start seeing quarterbacks like Taylor Shuck, and you start seeing guys like Jalen Milroe, and then you see Dylan Gabriel, and that was the last straw for me. Dylan Gabriel, really? All right. Now y'all playing on that man head top. So anyway, I digress. Day 2 in the books. Really appreciate y'all for chopping it up with the kid. I will say, let's before I get out of here, let's look at a couple of teams' drafts. Like, there's certain teams that really intrigue me. The Bears, so far, Colson Loveland, Luther Burden III, Ozzie Trapillo, Shamar Turner. Like, this is a really good draft so far. Like, Caleb Williams, no excuses. No excuses. You better be elite with Ben Johnson, who's one of the best offensive minds in football right now. And adding Colson Loveland, you already had a tight end to begin with. You had Colson Loveland as a pass. Now your 12 personnel should be crazy and out of this world. You had Luther Burden III to a receiver core that was already loaded. You drafted a first round receiver last year. You already had DJ Moore. The receiver position is crazy in Chicago. There's no excuses. There really isn't. Added Ozzie Trapillo at tackle, so you help fortify that line that you already spent resources on this offseason, trading with Kansas City to get an interior offensive lineman and trading with the Rams to get an interior offensive lineman. There's so much that's been done already by the Bears. That's an intriguing draft right there. Ravens stopped the slide of Mike Green. You saw the tears of joy for him, but also you saw a guy that he knew his past had finally caught up with him. He knew he was a first round pick. He should have been a top 10 pick based off of his skill set. And he fell all the way to almost the end of the second round, but the Ravens stopped his slide, and you saw the tears of joy from him. The Ravens have done their homework. Obviously, that's an organization that they usually get this stuff right. So, love that pick for Baltimore. Like, this is the best pass rusher they've had in quite some time. So, looking forward to seeing what Mike Green brings to the table for them. Would have loved to have seen him be on the board at the time of the Commanders pick to see what they would actually do. You know who's killing this draft right now? It feels like the Dallas Cowboys. Tyler Booker in the first round, not a popular pick from fans because they were looking for a skill position player, but that's what they do. But then they follow it up with Donovan Izaraku and Siobhan Revel Jr., and it feels like, man, the Cowboys are getting impactful players and really good, contributors that can come in and help right now. Those are really. I've always said, you can say what you want about Jerry Jones, and you can make fun of him, and yes, he isn't the best general manager, but God damn it, the Cowboys draft well. There's a reason why the Cowboys are always in a position where it feels like they don't have any money and they got to make decisions on certain players because they draft well. And when you draft well, that means you got to make a decision on whether you're going to pay guys or not. If you don't draft well, then you don't have a decision to make. You're not picking up fifth-year options. You're not retaining players. They can leave in free agency, get their money elsewhere. With the Cowboys, they draft well. So now you got a decision to make on if you're going to pay a guy or not. And they draft really well, and I feel like they're doing it again right now, to be honest with you. But there's that. Arizona Cardinals. Will Johnson's going to be interesting, right? Like, he fell in the draft. Cardinals said, okay, enough of this shit. They took him in the second round, stopped his slide. And Rico said this, Walter Nolan and Will Johnson in the same draft is crazy work. Like, who would have thought you would be able to get those two players in the same draft class without having 2 first-round picks? We'll see what ultimately takes place with Will Johnson and if his knee can hold up. But if it does, that's a steal for them. That's an absolute steal. Falcons got 2 guys that we perceive to be edges, and Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. They've been searching for edge rushers for years, and then they double up in the first round. Drake back into the first round with James Pierce. Then get Xavier Watts in the 3rd round. It was funny because Rio brought up Xavier Watts, and then as soon as he did, boom, the Falcons took him, and I think that's a great pick, man. A guy that just knows how to find the football, make plays. I think that's a guy that he's going to fill in admirably for the safety that they signed from the Denver Broncos in the offseason. That's now a free agent. He's going to fill in admirably, like step right in and be able to do the things that he was able to do. So just try and find some more drafts that stand out. Panthers with Ted McMillan, Nick Scorton, and Prince Uman Mielen. 2 edges. That's another team that doubled up at the edge position. I mean, it's such a good draft of edges where you could take 2 of them, right? Why not? I just talked about the Falcons taking 2. Same division. Panthers said, shit, you did 2. Let me do 2. So it's that type of draft, right? You know, it's enough to go around, but I've been searching for a long time. Let me get mine. How about the Cleveland Browns, man? What a draft they're having. I don't love the Dylan Gabriel pick, but let's remove that from the equation. Mason Graham, Carson Schlesinger, Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fannin Jr., like, they're killing this thing. And then they added Dylan Gabriel. If that was Shedeur Sanders, we would be absolutely saying the Browns are murdering the draft right now. But they are. Remove Dylan Gabriel from the equation and just focus on the first 4 picks: Mason Graham, Carson Schlesinger, Quinshon Judkins, and Harold Fannin Jr. You're like, whoa, Browns are killing it right now. So I love what they're doing. I love keeping Quinshon Judkins. And I said this, I caught some flack. I mean, fans was coming after the kid. I literally said at the beginning of this process, Quinshon Judkins is better than Travion Henderson. And you would have thought I said that the Pope is a sexual predator. You would have thought I said that because you had all kinds of fans coming at my neck when I said that Travion Henderson, especially Ohio State fans or college football fans, because, you know, I'm not a college football guy, but I dibble and dabble and I watch enough of it to be dangerous. And I see a lot of Ohio State, so I feel like I can talk about it enough to be taken seriously. But I ain't gonna sit here and act like I'm this massive college football fan because I'm not. But I said Quinshon Judkins is the better of the two backs. And just because he went before him doesn't mean he's better. But a lot of people told me I was crazy that Travion would go before Quinshon Judkins. Anyway, I digress. Quinshon Judkins is the pick for the Browns at 36. So they keep him in the state of Ohio. And I love Harold Fannin Jr. And I think he's going to be a problem. And the Browns is like, yeah, me too. So they took him. The Browns are killing it right now. They really are. They still don't have no damn quarterback, though, because Dylan Gabriel ain't the goddamn answer. I can assure you of that. So they still ain't got shit. Denver Broncos are having a really solid draft. Jahdae Barron, R.J. Harvey, Pat Bryant, Savion Jones, edge out of LSU. They're having a really, really really good draft as well right now. So I think there are a number of teams that, and I was jealous as a Commanders fan, knowing that I didn't have a third round pick. Just knowing that I've said this already. Rounds 2 through 4 we're going to produce the most starters in this year's draft. Like, this is the best value. Rounds 2 through 4, and you saw a lot of teams stockpile picks in rounds 2 through 4 and get busy. And if you've already got 4 picks on the board right now, you probably got yourself 4 starting players in the NFL, and that feels good. The fact that the Commanders only made 2 selections, this sucks, because rounds 1 through 4, if you want to expand it to round 1, you should be coming away with starting caliber players in rounds 1 through 4. I can't guarantee you anything 5, 6, and 7, but rounds 1 through 4, you probably should be coming away with some kind of starting, caliber football player, or a guy that's an impact player at some way, shape, or form. Like R.J. Harvey probably isn't a starting running back, but he can definitely impact the game with his speed and his ability to be a game changer and a game breaker and explosive. He's going to impact the game, right? Anyway, let's get back to the comment section and then we'll get out of here. Sam Martin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Sam Martin writes, what's your thoughts on the Eagles draft and now having 11 picks in the first 5 rounds in 2026 if comp picks come in? Well, let's take a look at what the Eagles have done. I don't remember hearing their name called that often in the 3rd round. Don't feel like they were really a participant. That's because they didn't have a 3rd round pick, so that makes sense. They, so far, I mean, they only had 2 picks, just like the Commanders. So Jahad Campbell, really good pick. Love that for them. Andrew Makuba, yeah, he's cool, right? Like he doesn't necessarily move the needle for me, but he fits Philadelphia. Like that's your, CJ Gardner-Johnson. That's your CD, replacement. Cool. And he could be that for you, right? But we'll see. But I got no issues with what the Eagles are doing right now. But yes, to your point, I think the strength in the Eagles is just having all of the value and the picks and the optionality, as our general manager calls it. There aren't many more teams that have more optionality than the Philadelphia Eagles. If the Eagles want to come up, they can. If they want to move back, they can. The Eagles can do whatever the hell they want to do because they got the assets to do it. If the Eagles decide they want this player or that player, they got 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, or 3 in the 5th, and a 6th. Like, if they decided that they want a guy early in the 4th, earlier than where they are at the 9th pick in the 4th round, they want the 3rd pick in the 4th round. They can do it with all the picks that they have. If they get to, they got the 25th pick in the 5th round, they decide they want the 2nd pick in the 5th round, they can do it. So they're in a position that they can move. Like, if they wanted a 3rd round pick, they could have done it. They got enough 4th and 5th round picks where they could have packaged up some things and said, yeah, no, let me get this player. So Eagles are in a really good position. Really good position. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, doubling down on secondary also makes me feel better about Egbuka. Our secondary was butt last year. No, your secondary was straight ass. I'm gonna say it for you. You did the PG version. I'm gonna do the the rated R version. Your secondary was straight ass last year, right? Now you got some help. And Egbuka, to me, upgrades your offense tremendously. Gives you more options. Look, you can't be assured that Chris Godwin's going to stay healthy. But in the event that he doesn't, now you got a guy. If he does, the more the merrier. Now, good luck stopping these 4 receivers. We can go with a 4 receiver set, right? Good luck stopping this. Go 10 personnel, right? 1 back, no tight ends, 4 receivers. Stop this shit. Empty set with Baker Mayfield. Good luck stopping these 4 receivers. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, we have 3 picks left today. If I'm Jason Light, I'm going for height, weight, speed, guys. See if we can find a freak. That's 4. If you got to, let's go look at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me go look and see what y'all working with. So you got a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th. So no 6. That 4th round pick, I'm not looking for height, weight, speed. I'm looking for a football player. I'm looking for a starter, right? You should be able to find one. 5th round, sure. Height, weight, speed, knock your stuff out. Same thing with 7th round. 4th round, I'm looking for a guy that can come in and contribute right now. Got it. And even if I don't think he can contribute right now, he's a starter in 2 years. That's what I'm looking for. You have the ability in this year's draft to find a starter. You still have not drafted an edge. You need an edge. There's some edges available in this draft. Go get you one. All right. Don't be shy. Don't be bashful. Go get you an edge. Because I can tell you right now, you went and got one in free agency, and that's cool. That's a 1-year deal. That's a prove-it deal for Hassan Reddick. Go get you a young edge. That's what your 4th round pick should be. Now, as a Commanders fan, I don't want you drafting an edge. Draft an offensive lineman. Draft a defensive lineman. Draft a safety. I don't give a shit. Stay away from the edge rushers. But if I'm a Bucs fan, I want an edge. And there are plenty available at this current juncture. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Vincent Coe, writes, let me know how you feel about my Seahawks draft so far. Let's take a look at what the Seahawks have done. Gray Zabel, love it in the 1st round. Nick Amanawari is a dog. I thought he would go in the 1st round. I actually liked him more than the safety that went in the 1st round from Georgia. So I think that's a steal. I love Elijah Arroyo. As a matter of fact, Elijah Arroyo was my 3rd best tight end in this draft class. 3rd best behind the 2 big dogs, Warren and Loveland. So you got, to me, the 3rd best tight end in the draft. He's a dog. He's a stud. Man. And then Jalen Milroe is intriguing. I love the pick. I love what he brings to the table. And again, you could put some packages in for him. A la Colin Kaepernick. That shit's going to be fun. I love your draft so far. This is an A draft right now. Absolute A draft. And you're killing it. Absolutely murdering the draft right now. You got a bunch of height, weight, speed dudes, right? At every level. Offensive line, safety, tight end, quarterback. All these dudes are athletes. So I love what you're doing right now. You got a pick in the 4th. Got another chance to get a really good player. 2 5th round picks, 2 7th round picks. So we'll see what else you end up doing. But boy, I really like what you guys are doing right now. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, to me, Shedeur Sanders is Alex Smith with a slightly better arm and slightly more athletic. That's not a shot either. There's nothing in the world wrong with being Alex Smith type quarterback. So I would disagree with you on him being a better athlete than Alex Smith. Alex Smith was a tremendous athlete. Shedeur is not athletically on his level. I do think his arm is better than Alex Smith's, but he's nowhere near the athlete he's nowhere near the athlete Alex Smith was coming out of Utah with Urban Meyer in his system. He's not even close. Alex Smith was a tremendous athlete who could run. Shedeur Sanders is not a runner, which is why the Giants were not interested and why they took Jackson Dart, because Jackson Dart is an athlete. He can run. And if you're going to play for Brian Daboll, you better be able to run read option and do those things. Quarterback keeps. That's when Daniel Jones was at his best. That's when the Giants offense was at its best, when Daniel Jones was a threat as a runner. And so I think Jackson Dart brings that to the table. Shedeur Sanders did not, which is why the Giants went in that direction. But there's nothing wrong with being an Alex Smith. Know who you are. I don't think Shedeur Sanders views himself as an Alex Smith, and that's the problem, right? If you're going to say he's an Alex Smith type, well, he's not going to, throw the ball around the yard like an Alex Smith type. Alex Smith was checking it down, afraid to take those shots down the field. But if it presented itself, it was wide open, he would take it. But for the most part, I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to protect the football. I'm not going to put it in harm's way. That's not Shedeur Sanders. It's not Shedeur Sanders. Miggy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Miggy writes, we might have to get an edge post June 1 cuts. And that may be on the table too. Like, I caution Commanders fans, don't be hell bent on this position or that position and get all, caught up if they don't select X, Y, or Z, right? We could come away with no running backs in the draft. We come away with no edge rushers in the draft. You need to be mentally prepared for that, is what I'm saying. There's no guarantees, right? That's all I'm saying. Just be ready. As a wise man once said to me, son, be ready. Just be ready. That's all. And let it be what it's going to be. Just trust AP. That's it. Let AP cook. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, hell, I'd take Shedeur. Baker won't play forever. And with this play style, it wouldn't hurt to have him as a backup. Shedeur I think he could be an asset in Tampa Bay, but guess what? Shedeur Sanders doesn't view himself as a backup quarterback. Like, for 1 year, sure. Like, if he got drafted by the Giants, he would have been cool sitting behind Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston for a year, or 8 to 12 games and then getting an opportunity. But Baker Mayfield is entrenched as the Buccaneers starter. He's not in the mindset of, oh yeah, I'm gonna sit behind Baker for 3-4 years and be cool with him if he's tearing shit up to just not play. That ain't how Shedeur Sanders is wired. So I don't think that would be necessarily the smartest thing in the world for you guys to do. And then furthermore, Shedeur Sanders is Shedeur Sanders. So let Baker have a bad game. Deion Sanders Jr. is out on X tweeting, they need to put my brother in the game, man. Baker Mayfield out here stinking the shit up, man. He garbage. Now you got to deal with that shit. Right? People going to ask Deion Sanders, what do you think about, Shedeur Sanders? And, what do you think he should he be starting in Tampa Bay? Baker Mayfield struggling right now. Should he be starting? And now that's the thing. You don't need that. You don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. You don't want that. Shedeur needs to go somewhere where there's not an established starting quarterback, like Pittsburgh or, to a lesser degree, New Orleans. Their situation isn't ideal. Cleveland, before I don't know what the hell they were doing with Dylan Gabriel, but before they drafted Dylan Gabriel, that felt like a spot where it made sense for him. Not necessarily because of his arm strength and, you outside, but just they need a quarterback. Shit, what you going to do? The Steelers still feel like an option, but I don't know what they're doing. I do know what they're doing. It's Aaron Rodgers. That's what they're doing. They're not pressed because they know they got Aaron Rodgers on speed dial. Jonathan D. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jonathan D. writes, do the Giants have the most talented defense in the division? I know on paper, the names, somebody, brought up the names, and I was like, that shit's pretty impressive. I must say, I want to see it in action. I said the same thing about my Commanders in terms of their offensive line. Like, I got to see it. Like, on paper, it sounds good. on paper, the Giants defense sounds good. Drafted Tyler Nubin last year. You got Drew Phillips, who was outstanding last year. You have, I think, Banks got humbled last year. I'm not really sure how I feel about him right now. He's going to have to prove it, but I think they drafted a couple of guys this year where you say to yourself, like, let's go through this, Giants. So they drafted Darius Alexander on the D-line. So if you go from the D-line back, you got Big Dex at defensive tackle now, Darius Alexander. Obviously, you drafted a dual Carter, and then you have Kayvon Thibodeau, but more so importantly, Brian Burns. So you got that mix at on the defensive line, edge rusher. That's wicked. You got some solid linebackers, Bobby Okereke and the white dude that's really good. I think he's a really good linebacker too. So then you got that, and then you go to the secondary. You have Tyler Nubin at safety. You got, trying to think of who else. I feel like they got a really good corner, but I'm blanking on it. Maybe I'm tripping and they don't have a good corner, and I feel like they upgraded corner at some point. I just can't think of who it might be. I know Javon Holland. They did sign him at safety. Thank you, chat. They got Javon Holland and then Chauncey Golston. They signed him from Dallas. He's all right. Like, I don't want to make it seem like Chauncey Golston is this massive difference maker, but he is a good football player. Right? One that if you're talking about the Giants and like the pieces that they have, you throw him in there, right? You throw him in there. So they're loaded up front. Linebackers are solid. The secondary between Holland and Nubin, and then I think corner is still a problem. Still an issue. I'm still not like blown away by Paulson Adebo. Okay, yeah. I knew they signed the corner. I thought they signed the corner. Paulson Adebo is interesting, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like Paulson Adebo is a lockdown corner. Right? They still got issues at corner. Banks is a clown. I think he's a clown. I don't think he's very good. So I think you still got issues at corner. But Paulson Adebo is interesting. He's a guy that can take the ball away, but he's also a pass interference magnet. Like, so you give it, he take it away, and he's coming off of a major injury as well. So still got to see what that yields them. But hey, it's not for a lack of trying right now, right? It's not for a lack of trying. They got a pretty talented defense. Do they have the most talented defense? No, I can't say yes to that. I still think the Eagles are better. With Donovan Azaraku being added in Dallas and then them drafting Siobhan Revel Jr., I'm not sure that Dallas isn't still more talented than them, but I think they can give Dallas a run for their money. Washington is clearly the worst defense in the division at this point, on paper, without question. I'll definitely give you that. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie Tee, here on this installment of the Day 2 NFL Draft after party, man. It's been a great day. Shout out to everybody that was over on the Commander Kings channel that came over here and kicked it with the kid. For those of you who weren't there, but you decided to come here once you saw that I was going live, I really appreciate y'all. A lot of good football players were drafted in day number 2. Now you're going to complete the draft, day 3, rounds 4 through 7, see what the entire 2025 draft class looks like, and then we can assess what teams were able to do. A lot of good football players have been taken. A lot of teams have put themselves in a great position with what they've done but still more work to be done, and we'll see what it looks like come about 7 o'clock, 7:30 tomorrow night. Until then, I'm your man, Louie Tee, signing off. I look forward to chopping up with you guys over the next 3 to 4 days, really combing over this draft in its entirety and talking about what teams have done, what I think teams should have done, what didn't get done. We obviously going to figure out where Shedeur Sanders lands in day number 3, and we'll talk about that and the fit he has. But more importantly, wow, Shedeur Sanders is like the 7th quarterback taken, or however low he falls. We'll kind of figure all that stuff out, sort through everything, and have those discussions. But until then, I'm your man, Louie Tee, signing off. You guys have a good one. Take care. God bless, and good night. Peace. Appreciate y'all.